Welcome back to the United Pubcast, the podcast of the official Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney for your latest pubcast. And George has joined us off the bench again. Larry has given me his assurances that he will be back tomorrow night. If he doesn't keep his word on that, I might have to sort of delve into the transfer market and make a permanent sign-in and sort of show United how to get business done, because that is not what United are doing at the moment. We're failing on all fronts to get business done. I saw 20 minutes ago, Erling Haaland was announced. I think Reuben Neves is about to be announced for Liverpool, or that has been confirmed as well. And United are monitoring the situation around Frenkie de Jong and got a bit of an interest in one of the teenagers at Derby County. So it is a frustrating time to be a Man United fan at the moment. I just seen a comment here from Matt in the live chat. How are we? After all that I've said, Matt, probably not too good. United are killing us at the moment. But we do appreciate everyone joining us here. Adam, good to see you, mate. And the Borche here, no need to panic. Speak to yourself, Borche, but I am panicking. Not panicking, obviously a little bit of banter in there, but it's just frustrating because we knew this was going to happen, or we knew there was potential for this to happen, and the rivals are taking those steps forward, and we need to take 2 steps forward, but we're just sort of, as we say, just monitoring the situation, which is unfortunate. But Dion here, good to see you, Matt. Matt here, wrong choice of words. And Ashby, good to see you, as well as Mike. Appreciate you all joining us. But as I said, George is here. Maybe his last appearance in a while before Larry regains his spot at the pub. But George, talk to me. If you want to just talk rugby league for a little bit, obviously Australian viewers will know you're obviously a big fan of their Bulldogs. A rare win, something to put a smile on your face rather than United.
Oh yeah, finally something. Time to enter this podcast happy for once. You might not see Larry back for the next week while celebrating this because it doesn't happen too often. But just
well, Matt here, I think is a Parramatta Eels fan here. Get that Bulldogs rubbish off. So a little bit of tension in the live chat, and Matt here saying, "I'm with Borche, no need to panic."
Look,
we've been in this situation before, so we've lived through it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, I agree with no need to panic, but given our track record, the only reason why I do understand the panic is we know what inevitably happens. So,
I think that is the thing. In terms of where we are in the transfer window and the players aren't back for a few weeks in training, well, I can understand that stuff. Okay, it's not a big deal if we don't sign a player for 2 weeks, but they're in on the first week of training. What does it matter if they're signed today or in 2 weeks? Will it make an overall difference come the end of the season in May if we signed a player now or the 20th of August? Probably not. However, the reason, and whether you want to use panic as the right word or just sort of sums up the frustration, is we knew this was going to happen. And this has been our downfall so many times in the past. We've seen our rivals who don't need to make any further strides to get ahead of us continue to take strides forward, where we need to make that ground up sort of double quick time, and we fail to do so. And then come November, come December, we should have had that business done better. And ultimately, we don't get that done. So we are seeing the same mistakes. I told everyone when Erik ten Hag came in, I'm all aboard Erik ten Hag, the excitement and how good he's going to be. Ultimately, and I hate to say this because I think in my head I'm the most positive fan out there. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, especially the players. But I sat here when Erik ten Hag was announced, full of excitement, saying he will ultimately fail and ultimately be sacked, because that is what will happen. That will ultimately... The evidence says that, and until I'm proven wrong, that is unfortunately the way I'm going to feel. Am I overreacting, George, or am I just sort of falling victim to a bit of transfer muppetry?
No, I don't think it's overreactionary. The way I see your point of view in terms of the big picture is something that I ultimately agree with. Regardless of what manager comes in, they are ultimately going to fail because they're under an ownership that ultimately winning is not their priority. And until that changes, if and when it ever does, that's how it's going to be. Rightly or wrongly, we hate talking about the owners over and over again, but while they are the ones in charge and they are the ones appointing the directors of football and the managers, they have their own priorities, and unfortunately that doesn't seem to be winning trophies or going all out to win trophies.
Yeah, no, definitely. Good listener here from Northern Ireland. Jamie, hope you're keeping well, mate. Good to see you. Sai here, evening lads. Netherlands finished their national campaign this Wednesday, expecting something happens after that. Fingers crossed, which we'll get into now. It's sort of a potential deadline for Frenkie de Jong and the latest around him. Dion here, just throw this out there. We have 110 million cash on hand. Negotiations will take time. Look, I understand these are long processes now. It's just frustrating when you see Reuben Neves linked with Liverpool. Not that I wanted Reuben Neves, but you see him linked with Liverpool 48 hours later, he's holding up a shirt. Now, I'm fully understanding Darwin Núñez to Liverpool is not a story worth clicking on 6 weeks ago. And you put a story out with United and Darwin Núñez, the world is going to click on that. So I understand Liverpool were working on this deal for as long as United were. But it's just that frustration. But I completely agree that, there may be a little bit over the top. But he made some of my thoughts up here so positively negative. And George saying just a bit of frustration with United. Are they waiting for end of financial year deals or something, trying to get a few free chairs and printers? Well, I think the contractual things in regards to transfer windows being open and June, July, I think that all does play a part. That sort of does go over my head. And Matt here's sort of unfortunately sort of commenting a bit of a sign of the times. Spurs are signing more players than us. But he made it here with a call. George is your house sinking on a bit of an angle there. Yeah, hopefully he doesn't slide off the couch. It looks a bit of a scene from the Titanic, a little bit like Man United at the moment. Unfortunately, on that Frenkie de Jong, and not a deadline, obviously news headlines go with it. Okay, Ten Hag says a deadline. Those articles, okay, what's the deadline? 10th of August? What are you signing on the 12th of August? It's a non-issue. However, as fans, do we need to move on and say, not that we have an influence with the board, but can we have a right to say, sign Frenkie de Jong this week, or if it's too hard to do, okay, if it's too hard to do, okay, that's life. Move on. Because what we've seen in the past, chasing Cesc Fabregas or chasing whoever, we're going to continue to chase this player and ultimately come out with egg on our face, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those things that what other clubs are in for the player. And ultimately, there hasn't been too much noise around anyone else going for de Jong. But it's the point that I made last episode that I was on with you talking about de Jong, in the sense that we are a public company. Other teams know that we have money to spend. And the reason why we tend to see these negotiations drag out and out and out is because they will drag every last cent out of us, as a club is entitled to do. They want to maximise the fee that they get for their player. And when they know that we have the money to spend, they know that United's track record suggests that we will eventually splash the cash.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of looking at it. Sai here saying, where is it? Any signing that our rivals will make us panic, Modern FC will sweat us for every signing. There is a huge part. What I go back into what I said a little bit earlier in regards to Darwin Núñez and Man United. Let's say they both wanted the player. Now, obviously, United did have an interest. Liverpool obviously had a huge interest because it resulted in them signing the player. But I think you go back 3 weeks, no one's going to click on a story, Liverpool are interested in Darwin Núñez. So there's no point of a journalist writing that story. There is a benefit for the journalists in writing Man United are interested in the player. So we don't think Liverpool are in it because we're not reading about it. But ultimately, that work is definitely being done behind the scenes. But it's sort of the story and the drama of Man United's sort of transfer business plays out in such a public eye. I think we do read a little bit too much into it, and we do not give the club any credit, because I don't think they do deserve credit, but you do have to give them a little bit of leeway when you sort of sit back and sort of appreciate the sort of circumstances. But in regards to Frenkie de Jong, I forget who brought it up a little bit earlier in regards to the Netherlands camp finishing or the internationals. Does that change things for you, or is that this could have been done even though he was playing?
Yes and no. It was one of those things that ideally it would like to be done, so the player is physically present to sign the contract at Old Trafford, hold up the shirt, all that admin stuff. But in saying that, we signed Sancho during the Euros, and there didn't seem to be an issue there. But yeah, I do think all in all, the end of the internationals will make a difference, in the sense that a player can be physically present to sign a contract, and all the admin stuff can be knocked out of the way pretty early.
Yeah. There's just a comment here. Look, I obviously don't want to go sort of too deep into it, but Mike here saying reports emerging that Greenwood is likely to be found innocent. Thoughts on him returning? Look, I won't give my opinion yet on thoughts on him sort of representing Manchester United again. I think that is a debate for another day. I think those reports, though, a lot of those came from a bit of a parody account. There is nothing concrete in those, and information like that definitely wouldn't be coming out in the fashion that it did. So I think let's just hold until we get something a little bit more substantial on Mason Greenwood. And that's a hell of a discussion to be having when more information does come to light. Matt here saying they'll get Torres and they're likely to get Eriksen on a free transfer. I've always made it clear in regards to Hurrien Timber and Paul Torres. Paul Torres is my first choice, mainly because I've seen more of him. And I'm sort of disappointed that story has gone away. I haven't seen that link with Tottenham. But apparently, if that is there, that is something I could see Tottenham doing. Because he is not expensive. It's one of those ones, not cheap, not expensive, but he is a deal worth doing. Villarreal would obviously sell. Then Man United have obviously bought from Villarreal in the past on a few occasions. So, I could see that definitely happening. Dion here saying favourable terms is for us up front. Instalments take time. We're fairly strapped. And George saying United chase agents, other teams meet clubs' demands. It is frustrating when you see, ultimately, we see the result of what's happening. What we see Erling Haaland sitting on a couch in a Manchester City shirt. We see Darwin Núñez being announced as a player. That's the result we see. We don't see the behind-the-scenes work, but ultimately it looks like behind-the-scenes workings at other clubs is far more efficient than Manchester United. But on that, we title the podcast in terms of now or never for Frenkie de Jong. Sign him now or move on. That is what my thing. And even if he's Ten Hag's first choice, if United say, okay, Ten Hag says he's worth 75 million, and Barca say, no, we want 95. So, geez, I really like the player, but we're moving on. Well, it's not going to be held to ransom. Let's move on. Reuben Neves, he's come out, and the reason I think he's sort of comparable in this discussion, whether you sort of say they're similar players or not, they definitely play in similar areas of the pitch and can offer the same sort of attributes. So just your thoughts on the Reuben Neves situation. One, could you see it actually happening? But two, also as a player, joining Man United's midfield, is that something you would get behind, or is not the player for you?
He instantly improves our midfield. There's no doubt about that. He's a quality player. We've seen it time and time against us. Obviously, we're never going to forget when he put one in the top corner against us with the 1-1 draw at the Molyneux.
I think that happens every week. Every time Reuben Neves touched the ball against United, it ended up in the top corner, it felt.
Oh, yeah, of course. And it's one of those things that, with regards to how much he'll go for, Wolves probably aren't desperate to sell. They could probably do demands. Not that I think he's worth that, but I think they could probably get 70 for him, knowing that United are desperate to improve their midfield. And
but on De Jong, on that point, and on De Jong and Neves, we all sat here when Nemanja Matic left, Juan Mata left, Jesse Lingard, Paul Pogba, and all these players left. And already, even if we had all those players and we saw the state of our midfield, we'll get rid of all those players and then have another look at the state of our midfield. We need to at least. And I'm just thinking, what situation? Like, I can't see a situation where we do sign both for, let's say, Frenkie de Jong costs 70 million. Let's say Reuben Neves costs 50 or 60 million. That's the best part of our budget, and we haven't got that attacking player or that defensive player. And I'm just thinking, we're all sitting here saying, yep, we need two midfielders. Yep, two midfielders to come in and bolster the squad. When you look at how the dealings are going, we're not signing two midfielders. That seems an impossibility for me at the moment. And while it's a huge need.
Yeah, of course. And that's our problem with our lack of proactivity in the transfer market, and ultimately the result of our track record of being held to ransom, because we know that clubs can demand, and we will eventually pay maximum price, and that means there's that almost nothing left in our budget to bolster other areas of the squad that we need. So when another club could sign 4 or 5 players with a budget of 200 million, we can barely sign 3.
Question here for you. Who is your Dion here saying, who is your number 6? I think that's Erik Tom Haag asking me as the manager. And Emad pretty much maybe summing up my feelings of Jimmy Garner. Look, it's a hard one with James Garner because, yes, as a player, you say, yep, throw him in now, let him go. How is he going to perform consistently for Man United? We don't know that. We don't know that until he's thrown in the deep end and performed. So it's hard to sort of say, yep, he's going to be the number 6 this season. Ideally, in my opinion. But no, I think what we have to do, is go and buy that player. Go and get Manchester City aren't waiting for the next striker to come through the academy. They've gone and got the next striker. Liverpool, whatever we think of Darwin Núñez, they've gone and got the striker. Very, very rare, George. Very rare.
I know it's rare.
Does a young player come through and be
I completely understand it's rare, but at what stage do you give them a chance? And if the midfield is in the state that it's in, we barely get our improvements.
Well, you give him the chance.
We have to play him.
You give him the chance, but you give him the chance when Frenkie de Jong comes in or Reuben Neves comes in. If he can be better than the £60 million signing, then yes, he's the man. You don't not bring the signing in and say, okay, this is your chance. You have to go and get the best. And then if Jimmy Garner proves he's better than the best, well, Jimmy Garner's the man. Well, but at the moment, the situation we need that signing.
Yes, I agree with you. But even with that signing, that's one player in a 3-man midfield. I think Garner still probably is more likely to start more games than he's on the bench for. It's one of the
I think Jimmy Garner has a huge chance this season to play and provide a sort of pivotal member of the squad for Erik Ten Hag. But the focus isn't Jimmy Garner being first name on the team sheet against which it looks like potentially.
I'm not saying he should be first name on the team sheet, but arguably he starts. Let's say we sign De Jong. There's still 2 other midfield spots to fill, and it's Bruno Fernandes maybe playing in a free roaming role.
I'd love to see it. I'll definitely love to see it, but I think, and I know you're not saying this, and I know no one in the chat is saying this. It shouldn't hamper any transfer signings. I think Jimmy Garner
definitely not.
comes in at the sort of when that player maybe has an off day or something. That's when he gets his chance. First name on the team sheet next season should be a £60 million signing in the middle of midfield. But Helen Wheel's saying here, I think we'll get Frenkie de Jong for 80 million. Of course, that's the first bid. Will be reduced if Taglin. United offer a price. Barca want more. We'll meet in the middle. Again, there's a huge part of the negotiations which is frustrating as fans, or we have no control. But these things definitely do happen. There are a heap of comments flying, which I do appreciate. Apologies and don't get to them all. But Emad here saying, Tom, we can't get the best because of the situation we're in. That's why we're playing the likes of McFred. You've got to give the kid a shot. Look, nothing will please me more than to play Jimmy Garner. But the last thing I want...
What about pre-season Pirlo?
Yeah, pre-season Pirlo's coming back. Okay, yeah, that's a podcast for another day in regards to Andreas Pereira. I would love nothing more. I made a case the other week to keep Jimmy Garner, and his future should be in our first team next season. But ultimately, you do need to try and get the best. And Jimmy Garner at the moment isn't the best. And that's not to criticise him at all, but ultimately that is what we need. But I would love to see him get given a chance, but alongside a Frenkie de Jong or a Reuben Neves or that experienced player. I don't want Jimmy Garner to have to lead our midfield because that's unfair on him. And I think that's what we do need to look forward to because, as I said, there's so few players come through the Man United Academy and have a career at Man United. Well, we have in our mind that a lot do, but not many actually do it. And I think Jimmy Garner obviously has a very good chance of doing that, but to pile that pressure on him in this situation we're in as well, I think is risky. As I said, and I know everyone agrees with me here, but it needs to be fixed in the transfer market. Jimmy Garner's not going to fix this by himself.
Definitely not. But once again, as I've come back to, even if we only do make one or two signings, it's almost a situation where I would rather have Garner or Levitt playing over Fredo McTominay because you know what you're going to get from Fredo McTominay. Now's the chance that you take that risk. And also, I guess with the Europa League, it gives them, you can use them in those sorts of games to test them against mediocre opposition to see whether they can handle it in men's football.
It is one of the things where I was sort of obviously tongue-in-cheek, but saying I didn't mind the idea of the Conference League. In regards to a new manager coming in, he can trial one or two things or he can blood those youngsters. And he can potentially do that in the Europa League. We'll see what our group does look like. And again, there's no benefits of being in the Europa League. Obviously, we do want to be in the Champions League. But if you want to try and take positives, which as fans we will do, the positive of being in the Europa League is I can guarantee, if I was the manager, I'll guarantee Jimmy Garner, you have 6 starts confirmed. If you're fit, you will start in all 6 games in the Europa League. And I think that is a good thing for Jimmy Garner. Matt here, Maguire still captain. At the moment, he is. That'll be interesting. Obviously, Erik Ten Hag, you'll assume, will have a couple more interviews in the coming weeks when he does return back to work. And obviously, Harry Maguire, he'll go away on holiday. He's been away with England. I'm sure someone will put a microphone in front of him. And, my hunch is that he will be captain. That's not me saying he should be captain or shouldn't be. Just that is what I think will happen. But Rob here, good to see you, mate, up the doggies. We've got a few Bulldogs fans in regards to this little chat here, don't we? Definitely. But I just want to throw this tweet up here, George. And obviously we're talking about Frenkie de Jong and Liverpool are signing Darwin Núñez for, I'm going to say £100 million. I know it's not Liverpool fans, not that there are any in the live chat, but we're going to call it £100 million signing for the sake of it. Erling Haaland, big money signing. All these class strikers coming into these big clubs that are trying to take that next step in regards to silverware. Here's Manchester United. We're monitoring the situation of a Derby County striker. I'm not going to try and pronounce the name, George. I'm going Malcolm. I don't know.
Malcolm Ebiowei.
Ebiowei? Yeah, I'll go Ebiowei. I'll go Ebiowei. If anyone does know in the live chat, please do let me know. But Fabrizio Romano has said us and Palace are leading the race for this young striker. I did look at his stats on transfer market, George. And this is not fair play to him. He only played 16 games last year for Derby, scoring 1 goal. Now, obviously, as an 18-year-old kid, that's very good. Not many players score in a professional game. He's come on for a team struggling in the championship and scored a goal. Fair play to him. But this is a signing that is just simply, in my opinion, he goes straight into our 18s or straight into the reserves. I don't see this as a signing. If Man United sign 3 players this window, it better be 3 other players. This better be the 4th signing because fair play, he might be the next Ronaldo. Great. It's not a signing for now. This can't be a big money signing like a Palestri or an Ahmad. This can't be that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Personally, I do think if this does go ahead, this is someone that Rooney's recommended to the United scouts, maybe through his relationship with the club. Look, honestly, I'd like to see how this kid goes in League One if he gets a chance there.
Yeah,
Obviously, with Derby being
it's
in
one of
League
those
One
ones.
now.
If he comes to Man United, you're welcome with open arms. You hope he does well. But in regards to a sign-in, if Man United try and spin this and say we're signing for 15, 20 million pound, that can't be a sign-in. There's your striking option, Erik Ten Hag, use him behind Ronaldo. That simply can't be an option, in my opinion. But there are one or two more. Matt here saying NRL to be outlawed on this podcast, please. I don't mind it. I don't mind being outlawed, Matt. I'm with you, but unfortunately, the numbers say there's too many Bulldogs fans in here, and they hold priority over me at the moment. But there's one more player I sort of want to touch on before we do wrap up. And if there is anything else in the live chat you want me to discuss, or me and George to have a chat about, do throw it in the live chat before we do wrap up the podcast. But the last name that springs to mind, George, is Anthony from Ajax. Now, is the one player, probably even before Ten Hag was announced. We're saying if we get one player from Ajax, it's probably Anthony. Even if it was Pochettino coming in, we're always having a look at Ajax, and he's obviously a very exciting winger. Obviously, Erik Ten Hag came in, so that put two and two together, let's go and get him. However, I don't know, is it an easy story, or can you see Tottenham, thinking of Pochettino, can you see Ajax being sort of put themselves in a position where they're going to have to sell him, because it looks like that potentially, we couldn't have seen this coming a few weeks ago. Looks like they're going to keep a hold of Timber, possibly. So could you see the situation where they could get 50 or 60 million for a player like Anthony?
I think they can, especially if there's a bidding war between two clubs going for him. Can I see Anthony United? Definitely welcome the player. Also with that relationship with Ten Hag, but good comment from Matt. Anthony and Anthony up front this season. I'm sure that'd make Larry very happy. But
well, Adam here saying that we need a more direct winger than Anthony. Yeah, I'm calling him Anthony. I know it's without a H. But in regards to, obviously, I'm sure everyone has watched YouTube videos of him, how he sort of stands up and plays. And yeah, in my opinion, and I understand where Adam's coming from there, in my opinion, he is very direct. But I do understand if someone had an opinion that he isn't direct, because maybe in terms of the way he cuts in.
What I do like about Anthony is that he has more than one way than just his pace of beating a player. The thing that frustrates me with Rashford, regardless of his performances, there's only one way he's ever going to beat a player. So that's why when that work rate eventually dropped and his numbers dropped, that he wasn't really contributing too much because he doesn't have that much to him as a footballer. Anthony is a good footballer.
Yeah, his touch, obviously I've done my YouTube scouting like everyone has. His touch is special. And that's not enough to be a Manchester United player. You need a hell of a lot more to be a Man United player and then to go and succeed as a Man United player. But his touch is something. I know Larry made the point a couple of weeks ago in regards to my admiration for those sort of diminutive little left wingers or sort of creative, sort of tidy players with a left foot. And Anthony's definitely one of those. And he definitely does have that ability to go past players either on the right or left, or everyone's probably seen the famous one where he goes over the player. He definitely has it all. The huge risk with him, and it's lazy. I hate saying Premier League proven, because we see so many great signings come into the Premier League without any experience and hit the ground running. But when you see a player like Anthony in terms of his stature, it's an easy sort of comparison to make. You think, well, how's he going to cope in the Premier League? And that is a huge concern. But definitely welcome the player. George here is saying, will we see another Cavani type signing to back up Ronaldo, or will we sign a fresh striker that is like a Nunes? I have a feeling, Borche here, going along my thinking here, and I don't think a striker is a major sort of priority right now. And that is where I would be thinking now. The club has sort of started to put out one or two sort of snippets that Marcus Rashford could be like a new signing as playing up front through the middle for Erik Ten Hag. I think that is where the club is going now. I think they realised to go and get that big money striker, a Haaland or a Nunes, ultimately you're going to be found out by the better teams in Europe at the moment. So I don't think they're going to get their number one target in that case, which I think Haaland was always going to be a target, but he's always City-bound. Nunes there was obviously interest in. So I think that Erik Ten Hag hasn't got who he wanted up front, and that sometimes you have to hold your hands up. We're in a situation where we can't, like it or not. I think they will push on look, I would be pushing Anthony Martial. Obviously, a lot of people will be happy to see the back of him, but then it does look like the club is going to potentially push Marcus Rashford onto Erik Ten. And Erik Ten Hag might love Marcus Rashford. He might say, yep, he's the perfect player I want in that role. And fingers crossed that is the case and he can get the best out of Marcus Rashford. But I do think that is not our next striker, because obviously Ronaldo starts up front, but I think the backup striker next season is Marcus Rashford.
Unfortunately, I do see that as the case as well. Do I think Rashford can function by himself as a striker? Unfortunately not. But ultimately, the reason why I wouldn't say striker is our main priority is because I guess if we're being completely optimistic, City have won the league without a striker. Liverpool, just by sheer volume of chances they've created, they've been able to win games so consistently just by sheer volume of chances created, and eventually someone's going to put it in the back of the net. So for that, if you're looking completely optimistic, is the striker first priority, assuming that we play to our capability everywhere else on the pitch? Probably not.
Yeah. Well, not a striker, but in that sort of area of the pitch where you throw Marcus Rashford side here saying, we're forgetting about Palestra, who started for Uruguay these days. It'll be interesting because I made the thing we did a keep or sell on here a couple of weeks ago, and I said, put him in the sell. It didn't work. I think, okay, worth a gamble. Didn't quite hit the ground running, ultimately go on to a new career. Not obviously within football, but somewhere else. But ultimately, there is sort of one or two noise, and that could obviously be agent-driven in terms of saying, yeah, United still have an interest in him, and that obviously bumps up his price or interest elsewhere. If United say, no, we're not interested, obviously Palestri's career might be back in South America, so obviously it benefits him to say he does have a future at United. But I think everyone talks about a clean slate. I think Palestra and Ahmad, they go straight into that category. I'd like to see them. I don't see a huge future for Palestra, but if Erik ten Hag wants to give him a chance on pre-season, why not? Like Anthony Langer or Palestri. Like if Erik ten Hag thinks Palestri is going to suit his system more, play Palestri. I've got no issue with that. Now at the moment, I don't see that, but I think Palestri does deserve that because, as I say, he's now starting to play a bit more senior football for Uruguay. So look, he must have something about him.
Yeah, for me, I have Palestri and Dylan 11 in the same category. They're starting for their countries. They are mature international footballers now. They are experienced and accustomed to men's football. So why not give them a chance? And look, if there's one in that category that I don't see progressing and having a career, it's Ahmad. Who knows why we spent 40 million on him? He struggled at Rangers on loan. But the other two, I would like to see them given their chance, especially Palestra with our midfield situation at the moment.
Yeah, no, hard to argue there. Adam, I think this is in regards to the Anthony discussion we were having earlier, but against the bigger sides who won't play low block, I think I need a winger who likes to run in behind. I think Anthony sort of offers that from what I've seen of him. Edgar here saying, think also no bias for Marshall. He has to work with him, Hans Club State, and he has to get the best out of the current squad. But that is a line that has definitely sort of started to seep through from the club. The sort of funds are sort of a bit tight around the transfer market, and Erik ten Hag will be given the job as manager to work with what he has. We've heard that before. Louis van Gaal didn't get his way. Jose Mourinho didn't get his way. Solskjaer didn't get his way on certain players. And I'm just thinking, it's where it's going. It's where I started the podcast. I didn't want to be negative, but I've seen this too many times before, George, and it's frustrating because we've questioned these players so often in the past. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. They're not good enough. Ultimately, Erik ten Hag is going to be stuck with these players because they're going to be given new contracts because it's cheaper for the club to give them new contracts. Then ultimately, in 2 years' time, we're going to be saying ten Hag get out because he's not getting the best out of these players who have already made up our mind and we're already correct in saying they're not good enough. But the manager will be the one who will take the blame in a year or two's time.
Yeah, completely unfortunate. Unfortunately, that's just the state of the club under the ownership and administration that we're in. For example, I can see a scenario where Rashford is given a £500,000 a week contract just because the club values him highly for his off the field work, and ultimately, and that's due to the fact that our priority isn't what happens on the football field; it's what happens commercially behind the scenes. And with regards to George's comment about Chong, I do not rate him at all. Honestly, if he didn't have that afro, we would not know who he is. If the two best games I've seen him have in a United shirt have been when he's had his cameos at left back, and he's meant to be a winger.
Yeah, I remember he had a bit of a spell at left back for United when he did come off the bench. And look, Chong, I agree. I'm not a huge fan of him. I think he works hard. I think he's an honest player, but yeah, I need to see a little bit more from him. But if Erik ten Hag thinks he can get more out of him, fine. I'd love nothing more. But unfortunately, I just don't see that at the moment. Bit of a comment here, just for as we do wrap up. Obviously, if anyone overseas isn't aware, the Socceroos haven't qualified for the World Cup. We still have one more game left, and it's against Peru, 4 a.m. The question, George, am I getting up? Not a chance. I actually up at 5 a.m. for work, so I'll catch a second half on the way to work, but I'm definitely not setting the alarm for the match. Socceroos against Peru, George. I know nothing about two teams. I couldn't tell you. I know two of the Socceroos at the moment. I don't know anyone else. I don't know any of the Peru players. It wouldn't shock me if Peru... Obviously, I'd like to see Australia go through, obviously, because I want to see them at the World Cup. It wouldn't shock me if I get to work and see Peru have won 1-0.
Of course it wouldn't shock you. Peru's are the bookies' favourites by a mile, and rightfully so. The Socceroos have been shocking. And look, I think that what does give the Socceroos a chance in this one is that it's a one-off game at a neutral venue. If this was two-legged, Peru would still be favourites with the game in Australia. And then in Peru, no chance. They'd be playing us 2 kilometres above sea level. We couldn't breathe, as they do with every other must-win game.
Yeah, I remember some of the South America. I remember Bolivia is always the hard one. I remember Bolivia once beat Argentina 6-0. Bolivia was one of those ones here. But Edgar here saying you're not negative, you're realistic. We still have players under contract and nobody wants them. Pelletri looks good. Look, I don't understand you saying I'm not negative. I hate when I say it out loud, it feels like I'm so negative. In my mind, I'm more positive than most fans. I give a lot of players the benefit of the doubt. And here I was saying, keep Solskjaer. We shouldn't be sacking him, sort of thing. So in my mind, I'm quite positive. But I've seen this far too many times before, and it's coming to a boil when you see your rivals sign these big players. And whether I wanted Haaland or wanted Nunes, I think they're two different discussions. But they're who their managers wanted. Okay, we've obviously had the discussion about Pep Guardiola and is Haaland his signing or is it a club sign? Obviously, that is a debate. But the number one targets they've gone out and got before pre-season training has started. We knew our targets wouldn't come in before pre-season started. We know deep down our number one targets probably won't come in before the season starts. And that is frustrating because we have to look, unfortunately, it's not about aspiring to be Liverpool or Man City, but you kind of do. You do have to aspire to sort of be as good as them at the moment. And you have to be as good as them off the field as well, not just on it. And we're failing miserably on it, but even deep down when you look at everything, we're probably failing more so off it, and that is unfortunately where it's killing us, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said on the last podcast, it was we've always just been behind the 8 ball with regards to off the field stuff, and it's only coming to light now, or it's come to light ever since Fergie left, in the sense that Fergie was our whole club. We didn't have the director of football as early as every other club in Europe did, effectively, and we were shown up for it as effectively as soon after Fergie left. And that meant there was no direct style of football that we wanted to try and portray or look like after Fergie had left. Therefore, that's why I've gone through 4 very different managers with no consistent style throughout, and have never been able to get any sort of rhythm, even with managers and players coming and going.
Yeah, the last bit, just to wrap up, you mentioned the word manager. Wonder who Ralph would have helped sign by now. I don't know if we would have signed anyone, but he's got Austria playing like the best team in Europe at the moment. I've seen he's implemented the style to Austria. And I think, look, did you read anything into that, George? Is that just Austria did a bit of a bounce and they're playing well at the moment? Or can you sort of relate this back to Man United and say, look how the Austria players have responded to that and how the Man United players responded to that? Is there anything in that, or is that just fans sort of reading too much into it?
I never agreed with the over-the-top criticism of Ralph Rangnick, because ultimately he's a very smart footballing man, and should players want to work hard enough to implement his system, it is brilliant. It works. Ultimately, we were just in a situation where guys like, okay, he's here for 6 months, bugger this. This is too hard for us. We can just wait. We can just wait till this guy goes and we don't have to do anything anymore. And ultimately, I do think if we worked hard, Rangnick got to a stage with United where he thought, well, these players are either too shit or not bothered enough to implement my system. Let's just, whatever happens, happens. But with Austria, where the players do have that fitness and their midfielders do have that technical ability, while I don't rate Marcel Sabitzer that highly, he ultimately is a player for Bayern Munich. They are able to have that skill in midfield to do that. And ultimately, while they almost beat France.
Definitely, unfortunate to see. Good luck to Ralph Rangnick. I obviously do wish him well, and it'll be interesting in a couple of years' time when we look back at his time. His little bit of a tenure at Old Trafford did it prove a success in terms of and sort of exposing a few things and how that it went so bad under Ralph Rangnick. But I hope, again, I don't think it's going to work out too well for Ten Hag at the end of the day, but hopefully it does, and hopefully we can look back at Ralph Rangnick and say, look, it was bad, but he exposed a few things which sort of did benefit the club in the long run.
Hell on wheels, 100% echoing my thoughts.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I didn't want to believe this at the time. I did think this at the time, George, and exactly just what you said. And a lot of people in the live chat have sort of always echoed those thoughts. And I always sort of sat here and said, yeah, I can see that. And I probably agreed, but also thought, well, no, they're professional footballers. No, they're giving their all. I can't see a situation. Yes, I do criticize and say, yeah, they don't put enough effort in here or there. Ultimately, I was sitting back. No, look, they're professional footballers.
I would say they generally gave their all on the pitch, but off it when they're trying to learn and implement. They just either didn't have the discipline or they didn't have the skill.
Which is a huge thing, I think, and that goes back to the on-field and off-field stuff I was talking about earlier. Yes, you can give 100%, which I completely agree. You can give 100% on the field, but if you're given 90% at training, you might as well give 0% on the field. Ultimately, to succeed at the top level, especially at Manchester United, training and the games has to be 100%. There's no room for error when other clubs like Manchester City or Liverpool are given 100% in both. And unfortunately, that has sort of a little bit exposed in the last couple of managers we have had. Look, hopefully, fingers crossed, Erik ten Hag can get a hold of the club and hold of the players and change things. Because by God, he needs to do that. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit of pain for him. But appreciate everyone in the live chat. The live chat was buzzing today. Plenty of different opinions in there, which we do appreciate and keeps George and I on our toes. So if you did enjoy that chat, please do smash a like on the video, especially just cheer us up. If you're frustrated with United's business, you're holding your phone now. I can see everyone holding their phone. Just click like, takes 1 second, bang, clicks like, makes the world of difference. And leave a like if you think Larry is going to be back tomorrow. That is the rumour. And if he doesn't keep his word, as I said, I will indulge into the transfer market and start negotiations with anyone who wants a permanent spot in the pub. But if you are new, please do please subscribe to the channel so you hit that notification bell so you are notified every time we go live so you can join in the live chat. We do appreciate all the support. Just one more here from Held on Wheels saying, agree, George, they haven't given 100% to implement the system. That's why Frenkie de Jong will be super. And Matt, who's Larry, we'll find out tomorrow who Larry is. Maybe he's off. Maybe shaved his head and he's just waiting for it to grow back. Maybe he sort of got a little bit of vibes from me and Erik ten Hag. So we'll see what Larry looks like tomorrow. And anything else to add, George, before we wrap up?
Just one last thing on the international front. Greece finally qualifying for their first major tournament since 2014. We're guaranteed to top our Nations League group, which will get us into the Euros automatically. So finally that 10-year wait is over. Gus Poyet, terrible at Sunderland, but working wonders like Fergie at Greece.
See the manager now.
Yeah, Gus Poyet is now the Greek manager.
Oh, fair play to him. No, I didn't know that. Fair play. But until then, as I said, we'll be back in about 24 hours' time with Larry and I, hopefully. And we'll be chatting more United frustration, I'm sure. But until then, we'll chat to you when we chat to you. So cheers.